Hey guys, welcome to another video. I have some new sovereigns today, and this is my stack of George sovereigns. That tube up there isn't, but these are my George sovereigns. So I'm basically, according to my notes, getting quite close to doing a second date run of the George sovereigns. That means I have almost got two of each date available for the George sovereigns. So what I thought I would do is take a little look and see where we're actually at. This one is a new one to me. This is a 1919 Perth Mint sovereign, and in case you aren't familiar, this is George's main portrait that is on most of the years. The final 4 years down here do have a slightly different portrait, which I'll show you in a moment. And so yeah, I just wanted to have a little look. That's a 1919, so that can go on 23, 22, 21, 20, 19. We have a 1928 SA, so South Africa, Pretoria, and this one, these two came from the same seller, and they were very, very cheap, basically spot price. So yeah, I knew it was a little bit worse for wear, this one, but can't go too far wrong buying at spot price gold. So yeah, this one, it's probably one of the worst conditions, but still not terrible. So the George sovereigns weren't obviously circulated on the whole because the World War I broke out at the time, and that basically meant that gold was like pulled from circulation. I suppose Britain was effectively broke at the time, and so that's what happened to the sovereigns. So the good thing about George sovereigns is most of them weren't, circulated, and you can still get them in really nice condition for a very low premium. Now, I've noticed some interesting things collecting all the dates of George sovereigns, and like I say, it is easy to get good condition ones. This one's got a bit of wear, but it's not bad. I'd say this side looks better than the obverse, but that is a 1912. So there's a lot of interesting stuff for collectors. It's a very interesting point in history, and yeah, there's quite a lot to go at. So if you just want the basic date run, then you go from 1911 to 1932. And I mentioned about this slightly different portrait. So I have done videos on this before, but there is what is known as the small head compared to here, which is what is known as the large head. So from first glance, you probably wouldn't notice, but when you look a little closer, rather than looking at the head itself, if you look at this sort of space around the head, sort of in front of the nose and behind like the back of the neck there, you can see it does take up slightly less of the coin. The main thing I noticed though is if you look inside the rim, the one on the right, which is the small head, it has that like little train track kind of rail inside, whereas the one on the left doesn't. It just has the sort of denticles, I think they're called. So you've got the engraver's initials, McKennell, BM, on the base of the neck. And yeah, one of the key areas to look out for in terms of like grading them is the ear, also the end of the moustache, and like the edge of the hairline and the eyebrow. So some interesting years that you could look out for. Obviously 1911, 1932 being the first and last years. You could have a look also at the 1932. It was only available from one mint. So SA, which is just here above the date, that is the mint mark, and that is SA. So South Africa and the Pretoria Mint, which is obviously in South Africa and was active. And I believe today it is responsible for the modern Krugerrands. So it is still active, but obviously not the British doing it anymore. So in terms of some interesting things to look out for, I mentioned the mint mark of the SA. Well, as you look through all of the years, there are a couple of interesting ones, like for example the 1918 I, which is this one. So here you have a very faint I mint mark, and that is for India, which was at the time Bombay, now Mumbai, and that was the mint there. So this was the only year where India produced any sovereigns, and then there is now actually some modern ones since 2013 in partnership with PAMP, but at the time, 1918, that is the only one you'll get with George's portrait, and there he is. So This is, yeah, just over 1 million of these were minted. They're not that uncommon, and you might just pay a little premium over a normal sovereign. I have a few of them. This one is 1918p, and we have a 1918M, and so this one must also be an I, because I know I have more than one. So yeah, we've got, like I say, a few different mint marks there. If you want to go crazy and collect all the mint marks of all the years, you're going to end up with over 50 sovereigns, and you are going to end up with quite a few different coins at some varying price points. So there are some incredibly rare ones. I've noticed there is obviously a rating of rarity in the Marsh books, the Gold Sovereign series, and I've noticed that there seems to be like a bit of discrepancy there. For example, the 1923 and 1924, they were sort of the least common dates that I've come across. I've seen, the various years come up a lot when I've been trawling through listings and auctions and looking at, sites like eBay, and just generally looking at what's available. And also just from my own experience buying best value coins, I just have never got them. So I had to pay a little bit of premium for these two, the 1924. I chose the M for Melbourne Mint Mark, and there is just over, I think, 270,000 of these were minted. So in terms of mintage, it is very low. The year itself, though, in the Marsh book, it doesn't get such a rare rating. Apparently there's loads of them around. They're not that rare compared to some other years, which seem to come up all the time, and they seem to be, just less rare. So there is maybe a discrepancy there between certain dates, like the date on its own, 1924. There is quite a few minted. Some years though, there were like literally tens of millions. So what you'll notice here is the 1912s, 1913s. I've got quite a few of those, and you always seem to see those first few years come up, absolutely loads of them, because there was literally tens of millions minted in London before the war. So we've got a few different ones here, and you'll notice they're all in pretty good condition. So I think, to be honest, I know I like Shield Sovereigns and the Young Victoria, but I probably prefer buying Georges because they're readily available without, much competition. Like, people are happy just to sell these at relatively low premium. There's not people sort of fighting over them like the Shields and like the Young Victorias. And they're often in better condition. So if you're buying these, they mostly weren't circulated, and there's just so much variety and history in them. So I've got a video coming up which will be in the near future, and I'm going to look at what sovereign would buy over the years. This particular one has a C for Canada, so just above the date there, Canada, Ottawa Mint. And again, this is a relatively rare coin. There's about 257,000 of these were minted. The Canada Mint in general, they didn't span very long, and they didn't mint very many at all. So they are very, very rare if you look at the mintage figures. Now they do come up. You do see them for sale, so it's not like they're so rare that you never see them, but they do usually have a premium. I managed to buy that one with a small premium, but I've never had just one come up by complete chance. So there's a lot of interesting things, with the George Sovereigns. Like I say, I've added a couple more today, and if I'm looking at my sort of stack here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I need. Oh no, sorry, 6 that I need. Another one of to get another complete run of the Georges. And in terms of condition, like I say, I'm looking through, and there's not really any that I would trade out because they're a bit lower quality. There was this one that came in today. Like I say, it's probably my worst George, to be honest. Not too worried. Obviously, I paid an appropriate price, and it would probably be a case of just, I suppose, clearing out the duplicates if it ever came to that. Generally, these have mostly come from best value type coins. So, like I say, there's the 1 or 2 in the capsules there that I've paid a little bit more for, but on the whole, they are mostly come in, just random choice and things like that. So yeah, you'll have seen some of the other videos recently, like I got an 11, 12 and 13, and they look like they just come from the mint, literally. They looked well, to be honest, they look better than if they just come from the mint, because at the moment it seems the Royal Mint's quality control is perhaps lacking a little. But yeah, they're, very nice quality, and if you're going to go to sell these in the future, if you're going to go to a bullion dealer, they can't knock you down, for poor quality coins or anything. They're not going to be like, well, it's got scratches. They're like, well, nice sovereigns. They're easy to sell. A lot of people like the older gold colour, but I think the Georges, the Edwards, they don't really get the same excitement as the young Victorias. Although, yeah, to me, I will buy a nice shield, every day. I like the shield a lot. But like I say, we just look at this one. This is 1871. They just had more time in circulation, these young Victorias, and I think maybe more people use them in jewellery and things like that. I don't know. Like I say, I'm doing some more research at the moment to just find out, some more about them and what kind of things you could buy. Now, the difficulty I'm running into is you can translate the value of a sovereign in the gold price, but then what you can actually buy is different. So, like I say, taking a bit more further research, and we will obviously have that video out in due course. But for now, that is George Sovereigns. So let me know what you think. Did I teach you anything? Did you learn anything new about the George Sovereigns? And do you have any, or are you buying any? Let me know. We'll talk soon.